Good morning, everyone. It is Thursday, the 11th of November. Today, interestingly, our morning prayer reading includes a reading from the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1, verses 1 to 28. Now, of course, Maccabees is not part of the Bible, so why do we read it? Well, it's part of what's known as the Apocrypha, because it often has apocryphal type of writing, but maybe more accurately it should be referred to as the deuterocanonical, or a second set of canon. It's never used for teaching and correcting or rebuking of people, but it does provide us with a remarkable history of the intertestamental period. So when the last book of the Old Testament is written, there is a gap of approximately 400 years before we pick up the birth of Jesus. And so historically, there's a lot of events happening in that period, the intertestamental period. And interestingly, the books of the Apocrypha, or the Deuterocanonicals, certainly Maccabees, 1 and 2 Maccabees, picks up on this. And so I share it with you because it provides us with some historical precedent of what was happening at the time. And it's an interesting aspect of history because many of us know a little about it already. Alexander the Great, a Macedonian. Many would just say that he's Greek, but it wasn't really part of Greek, although I think their language was Greek and many of their customs were Greek. But he sets out, he conquers Greece, he conquers pretty much the whole of the known world, including Palestine, where Israel is situated. And when he comes near to death, he realizes that he has no heirs to give his kingdom to. So he breaks it up into smaller pieces and he shares it out among some of his more trusted generals, those who had grown up with him as young boys. And one of those, Antiochus Epiphanes, becomes the general who oversees the area in which Jerusalem is situated. At the same time, the Jews are once again turning away from God. Many of them adopt Gentile customs because the Gentiles are all around them, and they feel that if they work with and almost become part of the existing dominating force or people groups in their area, then they will prosper. But of course, that's against what God wants, not to syncretize and mix and match your religious beliefs. Antiochus Epiphanes settles himself. He's pretty much in control of what's happening. Israel is the one exception. But he goes off and he fights Egypt. I can't even remember the word. Ptolemy is the king, the ruler of Egypt, the Pharaoh. And he defeats Ptolemy, and then he comes back and he's really filled with his own sense of self-importance. He's certainly a very powerful ruler, and he attacks Jerusalem and asserts his authority over Jerusalem. And the line of rulers that come out of that continue right through till approximately, I think, within 100 years of the birth of Christ, when Rome rises to the fore, and they actually now come to dominate that area. And this family group have controlled and ruled over Jerusalem for that entire period of time. Now, really, the history is fascinating. Certainly for me it is. But what stands out is that life on this earth seems to be constantly caught up with problems that come our way. And so much of this relies on how we respond. Do we respond in faith or despair? Are we loyal to God and obedient to God, or do we run away and do our own thing? I see my time is going on a bit, so let me pause at this point. But just to say, how do you respond to God? How do you remain faithful to God in the trying times in which we find ourselves now? And we can learn so much from the history of others. So a question that I'll just leave hanging, and God willing, pick it up next week. Tomorrow I'm off to Sekukuni land very early, and so I won't have time to do an address, unfortunately. So we'll chat again next week. God bless.